I apologize for nothing. Um, I have to journal. So much is happening. Um, where should I start? Um, I wrote in my notebook. I've had like I've been following Synchronicity per usual. Wayne Dyer said that when you're in flow with the universe, synchronicity becomes the norm rather than the exception. And I can't help but think that I've been led to something. I'm being guided like I feel like God's hands on my back, like kicking me out of the nest. You know what I mean? I feel like I was in a holding pattern for a long time. I'm like, what's the next thing? Like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I think I have a bigger picture of what's going on now. I'm going to just read this and then comment as I go because I don't really know where to start. Okay, so I wrote this last night. Today's July 26th. I wrote this July 25th, and I'm talking about July 24th in this. And I'll talk about today after. Yesterday, the 24th, a synchronicity erupted out of my daily life. And then I did the math on 7/24/24. I believe it's a 1 in numerology, which is new beginnings. As I drove home, I saw the familiar numbers that resonate with this season of my life. I'm seeing 777 and 333. I've seen them every day ad nauseum. You can Google that word. For weeks now. What is the message? I went through every thought process to alchemize the emotions of my last breakup. I know that your emotions are your soul talking to you. And we're afraid of our emotions, so we try to drown them. We people like naturally want to drink or do drugs or I don't know, um, hook up or whatever. You know what I mean? But I know that's not. I know too much to do that. I was careful to not dip into hate or resentment as to set me back. We're all doing the best with what we know. It's easy to resent someone who's like, you didn't meet my needs. Fuck you. Um, but everyone's trying the best that they can, and honestly, someone who is hurt, their needs can't be met. They can't meet their own needs. You know what I mean? So of course, like it's gonna look like I can't either, and then we're just gonna hate each other. Um, I've been listening and observing. If I made plans for a date, something would come up to block it. Plans with friends fell through. I had to be alone with my thoughts. I couldn't run. My soul was crying out. I am still learning how to listen. When it seemed as though God wanted me alone, I was afraid of my thoughts. I was afraid to be alone. I was torturing myself because I wanted something, and God has a bigger plan. Wu wei, go with the flow, right? I was resisting, so I had to realize either God has something better for me or He's working on something, a bigger plan I'm not aware of. I am relearning patience and trust in God. While my mind was occupied, it seemed like nothing went my way, but even though I was checked out, God provided. So I was like, there was like a 2 week period where I was really struggling emotionally. And that's when I got sick, coincidentally. No such thing. And even like I went to the other side of the world to try to escape my feelings, my thoughts. And what I had to do was sit. Like I was forced to just sit with my thoughts until I figured out something, right? Which is essentially like at the end of the day, I'm not going to predict the future. Like God has a plan, and you shut the fuck up, relax. Let me see what else I want to comment on. Patience, trust in God. Mind was occupied. Seemed like I was checked out mentally most of July, and somehow I still had like an okay month at work. I didn't realize it. Like I thought it's been months since my phone rang. Is but I've been working just checked out. You know what I mean? And then I think, yeah, this week I felt fine. So it's interesting that something came up this week. twice. I digress. On July 20th and 21st, I was supposed to take a class at a mystery school, find like minded people, and learn something. Some force of the universe very clearly guided me away in a way that was profound. I won't be specific because I don't want to, what works for me, it's my universe. My messages are for me. Your messages are for you. So I don't want to give you clues as to what I'm doing, although you already know. Um, and I talked about it already, but I was on my way to that spiritual class and I asked for a sign. And once the sign appeared, I couldn't ignore it, right? So I was like, okay, don't go. My intuition was also don't go. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it was an evil thing to do. It just means that I was supposed to be somewhere else. Like, no question, that's true. And then I met a spiritual brother who I will talk about soon, who I wouldn't have met otherwise. Class or girls would have distracted me. Like, I was supposed to bring a girl to that party. And I was like, no, thank you. And this spiritual brother, he validated my thoughts, feelings, the hero's journey. I just came back from having coffee with him. I didn't have any coffee, but I went to a coffee place, and his story mimics mine so closely. Like who his ex girlfriend is, even their name's the same. Weird. So weird. Okay, so then on 7/24, I'm driving home. I see signs, more signs, and I think I'm being told something. I think I'm being told something in the moment, rather than this validates your thought or change your thought. I was like, I'm being told something right now. That's the honest to God feeling. It was like someone's telling me, pay attention, something's about to happen. And my thought was, I'm about to see her, my ex. And as soon as I parked, um, she's the person closest to me. She's walking out with her groceries, and I see that walk and that smirk and that, like, you know, like hair's perfect, makeup's perfect. She just stepped out of like a museum. Um, it's like the lights shining extra bright, and I was like, I knew this was gonna happen. I'm telling you, in the car, I knew. I'm being taught something. It's like a profound thing to be like, this is going to happen, and then it happens, right? We live close to each other. Like, I suppose it was bound to happen at any time, but it's weird to be like, it's never happened before, but it happened again today. But I'll get to that later. Um, I feel like I had just finally gotten over the emotions. The emotions where I felt out of control because um, I think neither of us like feeling out of control. That's why we trigger each other. Um, but I did the inner work to be okay without, I can sit in silence. Nothing needs to happen and I'm cool. Like my mind won't trail off into causing me problems, which is back to how I was and how, I worked very hard to earn that. Um, one glance, she reaffirmed that she's special though. Like I can't, I don't know how many times in my life it's happened. I don't know if it's ever happened, honestly. And I'm hesitant to say that because I'm almost 40. But you think I don't get the attention of beautiful women? Like I have a lot to offer. Um, I was gonna make a joke, but the people who know me know what word I was gonna use. The funny thing is that I've been okay. So We obviously talked, we hugged, and it was like, you know, I feel like even when we're together, it's like you need to like latch onto me like a koala and never let go. Like, why do you live away from me, bitch? Live here and touch me all the time. Like I'm so selective with who I show affection to. But once access is granted, it's like, what the fuck's the holdup here? What are you doing? We slept in the same bed twice. I really felt like when you're in an unhealthy relationship, you never feel more alone. I could be like lost at sea. I wouldn't feel as alone, which is, that's obviously pointing at something. That's very sad. I'm sure she felt the same actually. Um, both of us trying our best, speaking a different language. We're like on a completely different frequency. Mine's up here though. God, yeah, like the feeling that she's special. Whether this is, to be fair, this is how you learn lessons. If you didn't feel something, I wouldn't fucking learn anything. You know what I mean? If it was the girl before her or the girl before that, I wouldn't have learned anything. So I didn't care. If they were on fire, I'd be like, oh, that's very unfortunate. Here's some water, but please don't come back into my life. I know what you were trying to do, lady. Um, somehow this is a trick. Um, so my thought was, can you text messages? Please leave me alone. My thought was, am I being tested? Is God saying he's doing things in the background? And then while we stood there, a car turned on. And I look, and it had the first three letters of her name and then the number 733. Is it not funny that I said the numbers I've been seeing are 7 and 3s? And now specifically 733, there a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I saw I saw it 3 times maybe on the way to work. And I'm like, I wonder, does it have to be three numbers in a row, or is it like if I see any random numbers, because each number has power, right? So like each sequence of numbers, even if it's random, if I see the 5, 8, 9, and if I keep seeing it, I suppose that should mean something too, right? Change and abundance and end of a chapter, I think. Um, and also the interesting thing is her name, her the first three letters of her name, 733. And then on the freeway on the way there, I saw the first three letters of my name and 333. And I'm thinking now, like, I wonder if that means the seven first means that she's on the cusp of a spiritual awakening. Is that what I feel? Which, I mean, that would be, thanks God, I hope. Um, but it felt like seeing the synchronicity, knowing something's going to happen, and then it happens. It felt like God is standing there. Like, hey, idiot, pay attention. And I'm like, I'm fucking super paying attention. Talk to her. Fucking bitch. Anyways, I'm sorry I talk like that. I'm just joking. She's not a bitch. She's a lovely person. Actually, I had dinner with a friend or lunch with a friend over the weekend, and he was there like to see our first fight before we were dating. I blocked her after that. And he's like, "Are you still talking to that girl?" I was like, "No." It's like, "Yeah, she was a cunt." I was like, "Don't ever fucking in your life say that again. I can say that, you can't." It's like, "Do you want me to hurt you?" She's a lovely lady. Um, I'm saying here, even though I feel like, because God's standing there, I suppose even if this girl is meant to hurt me, I shouldn't be afraid. It's worked out for the best every time. I don't feel anxious. I don't feel like I'm giving energy to it. Like I sleep fine. I'm like life is going well. I'm not like obsessing like, oh, I don't feel like I'm in a chase or whatever. I feel like I'm very much being guided, and I should just wait for God to do whatever He needs to do. That doesn't necessarily mean us. It means whatever the next thing is. I'm just here. We'll see what happens. I have all the time in the world. And God's will is the same as my own. It's like what I want out of life is to be as happy as I can possibly be. I want the best life, maktub, right? It's written. I'm supposed to have the best life I could possibly have. The only person who's going to stop that from happening is me. And I know too much to do that. And when I pray for the best outcome for myself. I also pray for her, and I don't pray for us to have a reunion. I pray for the best outcome for her. If it's me, I would love that. It would make my heart happy. I was talking to my friend Amber, and she was like, "Don't you think it's better if you do the work on yourself and you meet someone who's done the work on themselves, and you just meet there, and you don't have any issues or whatever?" I was like, honestly, I understand what you're saying, but that's a shitty story. Isn't a better story like we climbed this mountain together, like the journey of discovering your soulmate or whatever is like also the journey within. And perhaps that's the reason why we triggered each other. It was like, you know, supposed to happen. It's a hard thing to digest because it's like you fucking suck and cause me a lot of pain. And if I could just turn off you know what I mean? You mean nothing to me, you fucking asshole. I'm sure that's how she feels too. It would make living life easier, but also it takes away, like, there's some magic happening. I feel there's magic happening in my life. I'm sorry, I will call you back. Okay, and I will text you back. Everybody leave me alone. I'm thinking. I've been praying, not just for me, but for her as well. And I talked about this dream that I had that a siren was dragging me into the abyss, and my last act was to show it love. The siren in mythology is a tortured creature, um, incapable of empathy, compassion, or love. But it deserves. Please shut the fuck up. It's Friday after hours. Leave me alone. God would still love, unlike my customers. So God still loves these creatures, right? They still everything is from God. Creatures. It's a crude analogy, but like, isn't it not tragic that something doesn't feel loved? And when I say that and I think of her, I'm actually also talking about myself. You know, I don't feel like I'm loved when someone's doing their best. It's like, try way harder or fuck off. Um, Maybe to my own detriment, I still want to love. I want to approach everything with love. And there are times, especially in this last relationship, where I was triggered into things that I haven't healed, obviously, which shouldn't happen. I thought I had a handle on everything, but I understand that I was betraying myself little by little until I validated being the enemy. You know what I mean? Like, as I let my boundaries go and what made me whole and all this stuff, I let these things go until I started reacting like an animal instead of this spiritually enlightened place. There are enough cowards shielding themselves off and hurting people to protect themselves. Narcissists. I'm not one. I know I can't change the nature of something. I've tried. But I know someone who can. I bet he's got a hold of everything. I just need to trust him. Go where he tells me to, wait when he tells me to, and to always come from a place of love. I'm learning a lot about myself and others, as well as the worlds I live in. There's definitely something at work looking after me, knows my heart, and keeps me safe, even from myself, my own desires. Thank you to whoever or whatever forces are at work. I give far too much credit to evil, when in reality it's a game they can't win. They're fucking dumb. Thank God for my lessons, my struggles, my pain. I can't, and I crossed off can't, and I said can. Wait to see where it takes me. /us. So, I thought, okay, synchronicity, ran into her randomly, knew it was going to happen. Like, you know, I've lived a life before her, I've lived a life after her. She has a special place in my heart. I know that things will be fine if we never see each other again. And I know that whatever is coming is going to be, what I'm manifesting. I'm keeping my vibes high, and I'm specific about what I want. And frankly, I need someone to have gone on their inward journey, at least to know themselves. Otherwise, my attempt at meeting someone's needs that change every hour is a waste of time. My needs are what they are, and they don't change. And I feel like I'm pretty simple and easygoing. That might not be true at all, but that's, you know what I mean? Like, at least we're communicating properly from the same wavelength, from a place of love rather than fear. Um, and when you have unhealed trauma, everything is framed in a place of fear. Like, they have codependency issues, they have identity issues, they don't know who they are. We don't know who we are. Now, let me get to I had my first meeting with my spiritual brother, and I told him, I was like, oh, did I say I ran into her again today? So I ran into her on, I guess it was Wednesday, and today's Friday. And the whole time in between, I was like, if I run into her again, I guess that means something. And then I go to the bank and her car's there, and I was like, you know, I'm sitting in my car doing a tune, and she walks up like glaring at me. And we sat and have a conversation, and it's like, we're still miles apart. And my attempts at, like bridging the gap are met with hostility. Um, it's like, I'm not trying to change. I never wanted to change who she is. I think she's exactly perfect, looks wise, intelligence, her personality. Those are things that I absolutely love. But coming from a place where I was her, like, your emotions are right, and then reality will follow. Like, I would love it if you don't feel like that. So I was, even after we broke up, I was trying to help change that. I have since realized that that is putting a roadblock in front of her rather than a helping hand, because we are supposed to find our own power, and that happens when, God decides. There's divine timing at work. So I was interfering and probably delaying her inevitable waking up selfishly, because I want this person in my life. She was my, you mean, like, I felt like, no one can make me laugh like her. I felt like, her smile brightens my day. The problem is, like, her mood swings fuck my day up too. Like, I hope that she finds happiness, even if it's not with me. I've said that from the beginning, and I mean it. Um, but I think, like, the unguarded version of her is, like, in here I wrote down the qualities of what I want in a partner, and she would meet every single one. But that is me selfishly, like, trying to interfere with someone's karma and their own hero's journey in order to fit, like, my needs and my timeline and whatever. And that's obviously, that's incorrect. I think I've learned that. I think that's what this last couple weeks I've been learning. I've been understanding. Now, running into her twice, I'm like, okay, synchronicity. And when I pulled into the parking lot, my mileage was 777. It's like, okay, like, I'm definitely supposed to learn something. It doesn't mean that we're supposed to be together and this is the ultimate sign. And I, you know what I mean? I can't obviously live my life like that. That would be a mistake. But I can't ignore it either. So it's interesting. And I can tell just from our conversation, she still comes from a very, everything is, you made me feel. You made me this way, that way. It's It's a matter of time before she figures out that, I was the same way, and this is how everything goes until you're conscious. You'll make it true until it's true. You're waiting for the noises I make to reflect the reality of how you feel that I will, or your fear of how I will make you feel. You know what I mean? That's what I've done my whole life, and I actually did it in our relationship too. Once I felt like my needs weren't getting met, I just matched the energy. It was bizarre to watch myself go into an unhealed state. Okay, so an hour later, I meet with my spiritual brother, and I told him about the synchronicities that led me away from where I was going. I was going to a spiritual class, and then ended up meeting a spiritual brother, like someone who's this guy has the exact same answers. He came from a different place, and he was talking about like, I believe God is inside me, and I'm like, same, bro. And he talked about how heaven and hell is here. Same, 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 same. I was like, it's vibration. You're tuning into it. Our thoughts create the frequency of heaven or hell. I was trying to teach that to my ex, but she wasn't having it. It's not like it's from experience. Like I created hell on earth, and I have created heaven on earth as well. I know I'm capable of doing both. And I just want to bring everyone with me. And then he starts telling me about his ex girlfriend. It's like, oh, she lived with her mom when she was codependent. Her name is this. Um, Relationship dynamics and personality and origin story. And it was all, there's so many parallels. It's so bizarre. And then he said he still hasn't been on a date and he's still grieving. He's a lot younger than me. So I'm telling him, I'm like, what he's experiencing, I've been through. Even though it mirrors my last relationship, it's like, I know all the things that you just realized from my previous breakups. This time around, I wasn't aware of synchronicity. I wasn't aware that there's a God. I wasn't aware of any of these things. And now I'm looking at it through a different lens, through a spiritual lens. So I know that, like, for instance, if I'm supposed to, and if I am connected to someone, if I date someone else and they fall in love with me, I'm now tangling this web. And I know that, you know, if the other person attached to this string doesn't know that, they'll be attaching people to the web. And if the connection they have with me is stronger than the connection that they're making with other people, those are doomed. But it is creating chaos in the world. And I know I'm not supposed to be doing that. I know that I'm supposed to be creating peace in the world. So everything that I do, I have to be careful of. So, like, this girl from across the way that's, super interested in my spiritual journey and teaching her stuff. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not. I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not really talkative, but, you know, I'm not feeling it, and I'm happy to have spiritual conversations, but I'm not interested in dating you. And she said, okay, bye, basically. It's like, cool. Um, and I don't want to be in that type of position where I can't move forward because I'm looking backwards. And I know from talking to my spiritual brother, he thinks that I'm stuck like that. I'm like, you know what? 2 weeks ago, you could say that because I didn't understand yet that God is working on something or whatever. I know that if I have feelings, the feelings are telling me something that I'm unaware of yet. And no matter how homegirl feels and what she said, like, uh, our conversation today wasn't, it didn't leave on a positive note, really. Um, it was coming from a place of pain. And if I take her words, which I'm telling you from the beginning, if I take her words, um, I know that emotionally there's something else. And I got tired of hearing negative words and holding on to hope. So it's not in her that I'm putting my trust, it's in God. And it's not in reunion that I'm putting trust in, it's in God. So whether a reunion, even if it's like 30 years from now, like after two divorces or some shit, you know what I mean? Like, I know that if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. And I can do all the mental gymnastics to think you're a terrible person because you're unhealed and you did this to me and you did that to me. It's like, none of that shit really matters. Like, once you actually like awaken, you don't think in terms of who's right and who's wrong. You think in terms of how do I fix this? How do I love? And that's something I wanted to share with everybody because it solved all of my problems, um, which I'll start up here, you know? Everything starts with a thought. Now, interestingly, my spiritual brother, as we're exchanging stories, um, he says he's part of like a spiritual community that they meet on Monday nights. And I'm like, you know what? I was trying to find one, and here you just popped up, and then you have the thing. Now, I've had a problem. Where do you find spiritual people that are the same type of spiritual? Because there are people that are like, you know, you need to wear this type of crystal. There's people that are like, you need to go do breath work. There's spiritual people that are like, there's all of these, and then the religious stuff, and everything has to come from Christ and all this shit. It's like, if you didn't read that somewhere, you wouldn't come up with this on your own. Like, there has to be a way that if God it resides within me, I have everything already. I don't need a certain diet, a certain, you know what I mean? Should have everything. Um, and it seemed like me and this guy really resonated in this. We have the same type of spirituality where it comes from healing your trauma, figuring yourself out. Um, and he doesn't have any resentment towards his ex either, and he's wishes her well and stuff. And you know that's how someone's done the work. He could be Obviously he could be lying, but I don't think he is. He knows the answers. Now, he talked about the spiritual like group that he's in, and he said come, and I was like, yeah, definitely. And then as we talked about how I said this place is sick, the world, yes, but like also specifically big cities around the country, it produces sick people. Like, people looking for external validation will never find it. You cannot find it. Until you're happy with nothing, you'll never be happy with any amount of anything. It's just how it works. So he was saying, like, like you're talking about external validation and materialism. I'm like, I am, but I think there's a literal spiritual component to it. It's like an energy vampire. There's a black hole, and no matter what you feed it with love and stuff, it's never satiated. And I do think and see literally a spiritual component to it. And he's like, I can see that. I understand. But he's like, I'm going to keep my vibration high, and I'm going to be specific in writing down what I want, and I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to find the woman that meets all my needs. And I was like, you know, same. I have a list here. Wrote it down. And he's like, you have to be specific because my two friends, they're in love. They have what I want. But the lady said she wrote everything down, and she wasn't specific enough. So the guy is 25 years older, but they're super happy together. I was like, yeah, like I suppose I didn't write down that she should be younger than me, but I do think that. And he's like, do you think your wife should be Iranian? And I said, yes. He's like, even though you're barely Iranian? I was like, well, yeah, because when you don't have this identity, you know, people crave that. So then they attach to like LGBTQ rights or fucking, you know, they get super obsessed with something else. Something else takes the place because they lack identity. And then it's just like a blank canvas that you can program with anything. And I feel like that's where the world is headed, and I think it's deliberate. And I'm not going to be part of that. Like, I think the beauty in this world is the diversity. Imagine if every place was America. Every time I leave here, I feel fulfilled. I feel like I experience. I feel loved. I love French being French people, Italy being Italian people. Like it's very weird that we're erasing people and saying that it's erasing cultures and saying that it's progressive. Leave people the fuck alone. So this place is a melting pot and it has a fuck ton of problems. I don't think we should be telling anyone else how to do things. And you know, when there's a place that's ethnocentric, there's a lot less crime. They treat each other like, you know, with respect. There's of course exceptions, but and I'm generalizing, but the direction it's going is obviously wrong. It's not working. Like statistically, it couldn't get any. It's gonna probably get worse before it gets better, but I think also probably needed. People need to realize that there's a strength in having their cultural identity and their specific history, and it's what makes this place beautiful. We should not all be the same thing. We should not all think the same way. The food, like, you know, we carry our trauma differently, each group of people. And our culture represents where we've come from and where we're going. And I think it's a beautiful thing to cherish, for lack of a better word. Um, and of course, would want my kids to have the same culture. I was in a relationship with a girl who I didn't have any fights with, and you know she was constantly telling me that she feels comfortable in her femininity because I'm so masculine, and she she did everything right. She did everything right, and I felt so guilty breaking up with her because I thought like I might not find this again. Like there's a couple times she got mad, and I was like, you know, I'm not always going to say the right thing. And if you think that I came from a place of hate, then we should break up. And if you're going to forgive me eventually, you should forgive me now. Like, how long do you want to hate someone that loves you? And she's like, you're right. And she dropped it right there and was like, oh, like, we don't have to spend days hating each other and whatever. Like, I saw what it could be. Now, the problem is that culturally, she's something else. Um, Not that I'm super tied to my culture, but I realized that, you know, she's proud of her culture. She has an accent. She's an immigrant. And I realized that my kids would immediately be what she is. And not that that's a bad thing, but I wasn't sure that I was willing to give up on looking for. I was like, this wasn't something I was specific about. And then I thought, where does it lead? Well, they'll be this, but they will be American. And then one more generation, they will just be American. It will all be erased. They won't be her or me. And then in 3 generations, no one even remembers where the name came from. And then I thought this might not be a good thing. And I'm not ready to give up on getting all my boxes. And I was like, this is something that's important to me. So I broke up with her and became celibate. Like I didn't break up with her to date anybody. I didn't, you know what I mean? And she reacted very poorly. And I was like, oh, this is what you've been hiding. I was like, oh, I knew. But like women these days will hide if you provide. I mean, they'll exchange love to get their needs met. It's like safety. And to a girl that's struggling, like a guy that has money and chivalry and shit like this, it's a free ticket. So she would have pretended for the rest of my life that she's the perfect one for me and all this stuff. And as soon as I get sick or something happens, jump ship. Um, Now that was the first healthy relationship I ended, and then I was very specific with what I wanted, and someone pursued me very aggressively after that, and I knew we weren't a match, but I was doing like a anthropology work studying, and that person taught me a lot. Now everything that I have learned, I threw out the window to pursue my last relationship because right right when we met, I was like, this is gonna be dangerous. Like there's passion, but it's like this is the wrong kind of passion. Like we're gonna bring the worst out of each other, and we're gonna blame each other for like our entire history of. It's like when you are close to someone, like related to them, even they see the worst parts of you because you feel, you know, so exposed and vulnerable. Like I've overexposed myself, and that fear, especially like if it's not someone in your family, it's like you want to take it back. It's like I regret opening myself up to get hurt. But that's, the universe needs your recklessness, not your wisdom. And then also, like, I was watching this video about how the logical part of your brain is the devil, and the illogical part, your right brain. It says in the Bible that Jesus told his followers to cast their nets to the right. Your right side of the brain is where, and interestingly, I have pleasant dreams when I lay on my right side. Like I think the blood pools there or something, and I have it's like where I get maybe a connection to the divine. I don't know. Thinking this out loud. Um, so the illogical part is your intuition also. So of course my logical part said this relationship is going to be a nightmare. I can't fix her. She's going to blame me for everything that goes wrong. I'm going to eventually be the bad guy. She'll eventually be right if I stick around long enough. And 100% that happened. So I like watched it happen, but I gave it a chance. And then even post breakup, now I'm seeing all these signs, and it's like, and I feel like there's resistance to me moving on. Not that moving on won't happen anyways. Um, I don't know, but rather than have anxiety about what's going to happen, when is it going to happen, is this, should I, you know what I mean? Now I'm like, I don't care. I know that it's going to work out in my best interest, whatever it is. So I'm not worried. I feel totally at peace, actually. Um, Now, another thing that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have met this dude. And not only are we the same vibration, but now we're going to augment our vibration because now there's two of us. As we were talking, um, I was like, do you ever think about, because we were talking about work, I was like, do you ever think about like doing something with this? Because I feel like the world around us is built in a way for us to never find out what's eating us, and then we obviously pass it on to the next generation. It happened to both me and him, and arguably everyone in our culture. We come from a culture that has been severely traumatized. We all carry it. It would be a very important thing to do for ourselves and for our community if we could say, hey, like these things happen for a reason, and it's cyclical, and like we can break we can break the cycle. We can save the next generation, and we can teach men how to be men and whatever. So I asked him, you ever think about this? And he was saying he just had a meeting an hour prior talking about how to set it up and who to set it up with and whatever. He's like, it's so funny that you asked. You like circled it. He said coaching is, it's easier to say coaching, but he's like, I want to start like this thing where people meet up and we help each other for free. And I was like, dude, yes, we are the same. As soon as you put money into it, you attract the wrong element and you're doing it for the wrong reason. We didn't we didn't get anywhere on our own. We stood on the shoulders of giants, like us learning from Jung and from Nietzsche and from God, from the universe we live in. Instead of telling people the truth, we need to teach them how to see. So it's so funny. Like now, like our homework is how do we get this out? How do we help each other? How do we help men? He's like, do we make it co-ed or specifically for men? And initially I was like, every woman I talk to ends up hating me, but that's not the case. Like women I date, yes, but the women I have women are very close to me because I've, I'm like a safe, brotherly, like there's love, but it's never, there's a line that can't be crossed, and that's why it's safe. It's probably why it doesn't work with, you're vulnerable when it's someone that you're romantically involved with, and also if you fear they won't be around forever, like your walls are up. It's obviously destined to fail, but I can't do anything about that. But there are so many people that need to see an example of getting through it on your own and not having to pay for the privilege. So I talked about like these spiritual communities. I watched this anti-cold thing from Aubrey Marcus. I hate to name drop, but fuck you, dude. Like doing breath work in a group and practicing karate, and then like, it's not about me. I'm not a narcissist. Like I fucking know what you're doing, and it's a disservice to be like to give someone a euphoric feeling as if they accomplished something and charge them for it, and then not give them the tools to succeed on their own. Like really, it we all have individual work to do on ourselves. The path is inward. It says this in every fucking book. So me and this guy, like, he's like, now there's two of us. Like this, this is how it happens. This is what's supposed to. It happens organically. It happens when you just go listen to synchronicity. And I hate to admit this, but it's true. If I was in a relationship, we wouldn't have connected. We wouldn't have connected. My energy would be going to my relationship and being wasted because we're speaking different languages. But my life's purpose, I genuinely don't think like I was put here to be a a guy that fucks around with cars. I like doing it. I'll keep doing it as long as they pay me. I'm good at it. But is it my purpose? No. No. Especially like as I see so much, I see the struggle in everybody, and I know that like this guy sees it too. Like we have access to like a different layer of reality, and I can feel like even when my ex sat next to me, I know she was saying like I never felt worse than when I was with you, but I know that I brought out something in her that's already there, and I know that she did that for me too. And of course, my knee jerk reaction is like, go fuck yourself. How dare you? You made me feel this way. You made me feel this way. No one can make you feel anything. When you say that, you're saying you gave power to someone to do something. Either way, it's my fault. It's her fault. It's my fault on my own. It's her fault on her own. And this inability to, I don't know if down the line we'll be friends. I don't know if down the line, like it would have to be a long time because I'm super attracted to her still. But I know. I asked my friend. I was like, because we were talking about, do you think it should be co-ed? Do you think it should be just for men? I was like, men need help for sure. Like men need to know how to become men because like toxic masculinity, like looking into your feelings and learning about yourself is kind of a feminine thing. It's a little bit gay. So guys don't do it. They don't talk to each other. They want to let's fuck bitches and blah blah. Like I don't even know how to talk like that. Really, sorry. It sounds weird to me. Um, Also, something interesting. This is a tangent, but I live in a world where they're probably the most beautiful people of all time. If you look in history books, people were fucking light speed ugly, and we live in a time where people look amazing. Like these people, if they went back in time, you'd be like, this is an alien. You wouldn't believe what people look like now. And when I'm around, even though I'm single, I'm not looking. Even though like I can see when someone like looks at me a couple times, I'm like, what the fuck do you want? I'm like, oh, probably someone interested in me. I'm like, I'm not even looking at that because the last thing I had was a profound connection, and I don't just want to connect with someone to connect with someone. And I know that God will do it. The next thing is up to God. Whatever it is, I'm not looking. And that's the smartest thing I've ever done, frankly. And I'm patient. It's fine. I know I've been learning patience, but it was interesting to think that even though in my mind the door is closed going backwards, I think the quality of person she is so rare. That's what I found attractive. That's why I found her so physically attractive. Like my body's like magnetized attracted to her. It's really bizarre, and it's hard to ignore. So even though I saw it was like trouble, it was like I can't, like something's telling me I should be here. At least I'll learn something. Even if it hurts, it's fine. It's always worked out for my benefit getting hurt. So what's the fear? Stupid. So I asked my friend, do you think? Because I said I think that she's on the cusp of her spiritual journey, and of course, like I know from experience how much it hurts and how much you feel lost. And I wanted to be there and I wanted to help and I wanted to, it's like, let's get started so I can help you. And I was doing everything wrong. I was doing everything wrong for sure. Um, but you know, archetype of the wound, I just wanted to, let's fix the wounds. Let's get started. Like we're going in circles here. But uh, she needs to be alone and I need to be alone. Or, or my life's purpose would never be fulfilled. Same with hers. So I asked my friend, do you think your ex is going to wake up? And he's like, she's very intelligent. She's very intuitive. And he said a couple other words. I I remember I remember how he looked when he said it. He shifted his body when he said it, and I was like, we are the same person, and our exes are the same person, and we hold them in such high regard, even though it ended so. You know what I mean? Like it was never really good. Like there was moments, but it was never good. He's like, she's going to, but it could be years long. It's not like when you wake up, you're just up. Like it becomes way, way worse before it gets better. But um, you're confronting your shadow. You're confronting what's in the darkness, and that's definitely our relationship was uncovering that for both of us. Which makes me think like if she's being confronted by her shadow, even though I'm the face of the shadow, it means that perhaps right around the corner is light, you know? So he's like, I know she's going to, I know it. And I'm like, I have the same confidence. I have the same confidence. She is smarter than I am, more intelligent, more beautiful, more capable, and strong. And he was saying, this is he's like, children that were abused or neglected are the strongest people in the world. The strongest people in the world because we can hide it and we can look. I mean, no one would know on the outside. I did everything. I have all the badges. I collected all the things that made it look like I have my shit together. I know how to fake it. I felt super autistic on the inside, but I faked it. I know how to look normal. I think I'm gonna sit around fucking letting my inner thoughts get the best of me. I love watching that show about autistic people in love. They're so genuine. I have the wrong kind, I guess. Um, but yeah, I have the same confidence, and of course, like selfishly, it is a selfish desire. It's like not only do I want to be there, I want to see the awakening of this flower that grows from the lotus flower grows best in the filth. It's interesting. I was going to use a different L word, but um, yeah, I'm learning something. I'm in the middle of something big. And to backtrack, when my friend said, "Wouldn't you rather meet someone who's already done the work and then you don't have any struggles and everything's just fine right away?" I was like, no, it's a shitty story. It's a shitty story. No one's going to sit down. No one's going to fucking, what? It was easy the whole time? Happily ever after from the beginning? No. This is a shitty story. Your grandkids don't want to hear it. They're going to be playing video games or doing something with AI. Hopefully not. Um, but like this story, it's like, yeah, when I met grandma, I blocked her because she was so mean. She was a cunt. Grandma, what's a cunt? I'm sorry for using such language. I don't mean it. That's my cunt. Um, Mike Hunt, I said. Um, anyways, at a certain point, if this concept of twin flames is a real thing, like could be something that they just put in the collective consciousness to make us stay in like a narcissistic or abusive type relationship. If it's a real thing, I guess we'll find out. The tarot lady that I listened to was even stopped talking about twin flames. She's like, it's a toxic thing now. But there's this idea that there's like chosen people, people that are chosen to end the cycle of trauma in their families or awaken to the greater realities of the world and then help usher in a new, better world. And she was saying that that shift has happened and that now it's time to heal and now it's time to show other people the way. And if I do nothing else in my life, if I can help one other person wake up to their own darkness and alchemize it and overcome, it's better than saying I have a Ferrari in the garage. It would give me more joy, more fulfillment. That's what I think my life purpose is. And I was really disheartened by the end of the relationship that I was in. It was like I can't even help someone I love. Like I would die for you, and you don't believe that. You think I'm trying to hurt you. Every word that I say, you take it in the worst connotation. You think you mean? You think I'm coming from a place of hate. It's like I'm just trying to help. I'm sorry. I'll see you after you transform. I saw this meme my friend sent me. It said, "Don't commit to me. Don't commit to me. Commit to evolving, and I'll meet you there." And just saying, if that happened, what a wonderful story. If it doesn't happen, I imagine in some form or another this will play out. You know, if that's not my person and I was mistaken and I read the signs wrong and all those, it was all for just a lesson, I accept. I don't know yet. I don't know what the big picture is. Um, I'm one part, and I see the world one way, and the other part sees the world a different way. And and if that doesn't change, there's nothing. There's no more to write to the end of this story. This book ended halfway. Well, in the end, I have some Farsi shit. I should keep writing Farsi, otherwise I'm gonna forget. Ain, Kain, Fe, Kaf, Kaf, and Gaf. Too many. Too many sounds. Who's gonna teach my fucking Ukrainian children Farsi? Not me, huh? They won't be Ukrainian. It's a nod to an ex. Anyways, so yeah, um, because of my following synchronicities, I saw, ran into at least someone that I have profound uh, love and endearment towards, even if that's that's all it is. Cool. I realized that if we were still together, I would still not find my purpose in this life. So I understand this part. I'm supposed to be alone. I understand. And perhaps as I start going down this road, a new door will appear. But I don't need to analyze myself into hell, into unhappiness. Just go with the flow. Be cool, bro. Okay. I feel good. Everything is as it should be. I feel good. And hungry. I'm going to call a friend to eat. I love you, and I'll see you. Bye.